American history often looks at Jamestown, Virginia as being the place where the first slaves actually landed in America in 1619, when in fact it actually happened a little further away in what is now Hampton Roads. But did you know there was a Jamestown in Ghana? Why is it called Jamestown?
It's called Jamestown because the British governor at that time who was in charge here was called James.
So like the Jamestown, Virginia?
Yes, because he was the one in charge here who sent slaves straight to Virginia, Jamestown.
I didn't know that until my visit in 2019. After leaving Jamestown, we then headed to the W.E.B. Du Bois Memorial Center for Pan-African Culture.
All right, we're here. So how's it going?
Welcome, Roland Martin.
I'm glad to be here.
We're so excited to have you.
Glad to be here.
I'm Ambassador Erica Bennett.
All right.
And I am the Diaspora Ambassador for the Diaspora Africa Forum.
Okay.
Upon arriving, I met Erica Bennett, who is the head of mission for the Diaspora African Forum, as well as a member of the Advisory Council for the President of Ghana.
I've been in Ghana 18 years now. We are the first and only diplomatic mission of its kind. Our role is to bridge that gap. People like you who are doing incredible things like you're doing, we're inviting you to come to Africa to begin to help us do what we need to do here.
So your focus is not just Ghana, it's the entire continent?
The whole continent,
okay.
All 55 African countries.
Okay.
We'd like you to come and sign in.
Sure.
The Du Bois Center was opened in 1985, dedicated to the famous African-American sociologist, historian, and one of the most prominent African-Americans in American history.
I got a picture I want to show you.
All right.
As you can see, these are my colors, purple and white. They gave me an award.
Wow.
They gave me an award in Washington. And these are my friends.
What was the...
The Congressional Black Caucus.
Oh, CBCF.
Yes.
Okay.
It was the foundation.
Ah, gotcha.
Yeah.
All right then. Cool.
So you already...
Matter of fact, let's see here. That was made in Ghana.
It was?
They had a whole bunch of outfits made. And this is funny here, okay? Is that Ambassador Young?
Yeah.
All right, so he's got a couple of those vests. Well, I was messing with him because we had the Trumpet Awards, and he had the bow tie and the vest. I said, "Look at my colorful." He said, "Well, you know, I'm feeling my Ghanaian roots." And so Du Bois traveled to Ghana in 1961. While there, President Kwame Nkrumah, who was the first president of Ghana, invited him to write the Encyclopedia Africana. As a result, Du Bois decided to not only leave the United States, but he renounced his U.S. citizenship and became a citizen of Ghana. He died there in 1963, and his death was announced to America at the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom on August 28, 1963. Du Bois is buried there at the center in Ghana, where I paid my respects to him as well as his wife, Shirley Graham Du Bois. The Du Bois Center is often a place where many folks stop when they come to Accra, Ghana. It's composed of 4 buildings, the home where they lived until his passing, as well as his personal library and a collection of his many works. Also at the center is a plaque dedicated. After my tour, Erica Bennett and I sat down in her office to talk about African Americans and Ghanaians uniting to be able to build strong cultural and economic relationships. So I want to start this way. What would you say to an African American in the United States who says it's a waste of time for an African American to be trying to do business with African nations when we have so many issues in America?
Will be where we need to be if Africa's not developed. Around the world, in the United States, you say you're an African American, but in the world, you're an African. When they see you in Europe or London, they don't know where you're from until they hear you talk. So it's very important that we get Africa right. And I think this is the time. You know, this president has really opened it up for the diaspora. And the diaspora is not just African Americans. There's two types of diasporas, and I really want your viewers to understand that. The historical diasporas, that's who we are. We're those of us taken from slavery. Continental diasporas, these are the ones who know where they're from, Ghana, Nigeria, and they go to other countries for greener pastures or education. So it's very important that we bring both forces together to be able to help to develop Africa. And that's one of the things that the Africa Union is very excited about. The movement is here, and we're very excited about it. So what I would tell them, Roland, is very few of you would have that opportunity to do that in America. You see, because our needs are great, and our populations is huge. So if you come with the right attitude and really, really decide on what you want to do, you know, it's challenges like everywhere. You know, we're not picking dollars or CDs off the trees. You have to earn them, but they're here.
But I think for a lot of people, and I've reminded some people of this, and they looked at me like I was crazy. They never heard of Reverend Leon Sullivan. They've never heard of his initiative and how he was holding these annual conferences, and he was bringing African Americans to the continent, and was fostering those relationships, was putting people together to deal with these issues.
Roland, I'm a product of Dr. Leon Sullivan. You see,
Who, by the way, came up, so many people don't realize, he was the one who gave Dr. King the breadbasket concept that became Operation Breadbasket, that turned into Rainbow Push.
Absolutely, absolutely. He was my mentor. I absolutely adored him. And he did so much for not only African Americans, but those of us in Africa as well.
When we talk about opportunities, what areas do you see where the most need is, where African Americans could really help? Now, granted, there are 55 countries, so Africa's a continent, it's not a country. And so it might differ from countries. But you travel all around. What do you think in terms of those needs where someone who's watching can say, oh, I didn't realize that, I might want to check that out further?
Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. Cordy, who was working for the Congress in the United States, she called me a couple years back and said, I want to come to Ghana. She came, she housed with us for a year. She looked around and decided on what she thought she could do. You know, she came with a legislative background and that kind of thing. She has started a waste management company and I mean, she's the #1 here in Ghana now. So that's what I'm talking about, is that you look for the needs and you meet the needs. She came, she looked at
dollar signs in trash.
There it is. There it is. And she's in the States now having a baby, but she's coming back to her business, absolutely.
And again, it's one of those it's one of those very basic things.
Absolutely.
I mean, you walk around and you look around, and the reality is that's one of the things that you're like, man, it's a lot of trash, different places. Even for me, I mean, since I've been here, it drives me crazy, literally drives me crazy. Like, drives me crazy. I'll keep stuff in my car, and then when I go gas up, then I'll put in trash can. There were so many times here where we got in the car and I go, what trash can? So then I'm kind of like, did I start looking around? I'm like, man, so I just see bottles thrown here and stuff thrown here. So again, that's just one of those things that, look, in order for, when you talk about becoming a developing nation, waste management is a part of that issue.
Absolutely. And for you, let me tell you what, you could come over and become a billionaire doing exactly what you're doing, producing and telling stories about Africa. You know, today you have your Netflix and the Disney and all of that who are buying various movies and documentaries. You know, if we had a first class operation, like you know how to get your cameraman to set up and see. One of the things that we need in Africa is expertise. We don't necessarily need money. We need expertise. We need you to bring what you know how to do and do well here. One of the things about African Americans, and you know, I am one of them, we're trained to be aggressive. We're trained to be focused. We're trained to look at opportunities and seize the moment, you see. And we're trained to be flexible. And those are the kind of qualities that you really have to be successful here in Africa. You know, people often ask me, well, how did you create this? You see, I did it through the grace of God, number one. Number two, I saw a need. You know, when I got here, I wanted to know where the other African Americans were, what they were doing. And so they have a AAAG here, an African American Association. So I went there, and then I thought to myself, we need to have this all over the continent. So that's how this Diaspora Africa Forum was born, just from that. And we had a president at the time, John Kufuor, who was very, very Pan-African in his spirit. And he used to call me Miss Diaspora. I was one of his advisors. And those are the kind of opportunities that you have in Africa. I mean, and you know, in America, you have very few Condoleezza Rices and Colin Powells, you know, let's just be honest. But here, if you come with the right spirit and the right mindset, you know, you talked about mindset. You come with that and the sky is the limit. The kind of lifestyle that I have in Africa, I never had it in the United States. Let me just make sure you understand that. I never. You see, and the kind of support, and particularly now that I'm an elder, I love it. I don't stand in lines. They carry my bags. They bring me my water. They revere elders here. So I love it. And as I say, will I come back to America to visit my family and friends? But this is my home. I've been here 18 years. I'm now a Ghanaian citizen. I have both. I have dual citizenship. And so that allows me to come and go, that kind of thing.
Do you think when the president really got behind this year of return concept, do you think Ghana really understood how big it would be and that there was such this insatiable thirst, not just from African Americans? Since I've been here, I've run into brothers and sisters
from
the
everywhere,
Caribbean, the UK, from Canada. Someone tells me that they've been caught off guard by how hugely popular this has been.
It's been overwhelming, I have to say that. You know, this president has an office of the president, the Diaspora Office of the President. You know, he's always been a Pan-Africanist. Like I said, he's the one who actually signed our protocols for us to become a diplomatic mission. And so, you know, his mindset is already there. But I don't think he had an idea that it would get as big as it has. We've had over 1 million visitors just from the diaspora. This is not even including the other visitors that we've had. And so, you know, they're going to continue this movement. They're doing a 10-year kind of plan after the year of return, your birthright. So that's another thing that he's just recently announced too. I mean, and the amount of money that has come into Ghana because of the diaspora, it's been incredible.
And I think that, and you're right, if you take that, I think one of the estimates, it said, you know, average person spending, you're probably talking about an economic impact that exceeds $1 billion.
Absolutely.
And the thing that I was sort of going back and forth with some folks on social media who said, well, you know, again, how does this benefit African Americans? I said, there are African American travel agencies. There are African Americans who are putting tours together. So this whole, part of my frustration having black folks who aren't understanding on how to step back and say, okay, let me look at this. Let me sort of examine this. And that's what's been driving me crazy, and not understanding that, yes, both sides can be benefiting, because the reality is, luckily for me, I knew Michelle. Michelle's been here, and so hiring the crews, laying the whole plan out. So at the end of the day, having somebody who knows the lay of the land, but you also want to have somebody in the United States who has the relationships where that can actually happen as well. And so to me, that's how this whole year of return can be beneficial to both sides. Because what I also said is, I said, look, the thing that I've been looking at is all the different stops, all the different places we've been going. And so you have this unique opportunity to where this thing now all of a sudden absolutely continues, because it's not just, well, I visit, but it's also, it's the historical part. It's not just the slave castles. It's the Asante Kingdom. It's we went to the national park during the Kennedy Walk. It's so many different things. And the reality is, black folks who go to Paris and who go to Italy, what are they doing? They're doing the exact same thing. They're going to museums. They're going to places like this. So I'm going, explain to me the difference between if somebody goes to France or goes to Italy and are hitting these various places, and you do it in an African country.
Roland, one of the things that we want you to feel that you're coming home. We don't want you necessarily to say you're coming on a vacation or you're coming to explore. And so from both sides, to make it a win-win, on our side here in Ghana, one of the things that I'm constantly saying is that I don't want my Ghanaian brothers and sisters to see us just as a cash cow. You see, I want them to see us and welcome us in the spirit. Ghanaians by nature are very hospitable people. But, as I said, greed has a way of getting into things.
Of course.
And so, the inflation of our taxis and the hotels. So those are some of the issues that we've really been very seriously addressing. So it has to be a win-win. That's the key.
When you talk about this 10-year plan, are you also sitting with the president and his team and saying, look, this has to be expanded beyond Elmina and Cape Coast.
Oh, absolutely.
It has to be beyond that. Like, you really have to look at this also just from a knowledge deal of the country itself, the continent itself, and creating sort of this palette of opportunities. So when someone visits, it's all of these different things they're able to go to and experience.
Absolutely. And I think this government will be prepared next time. I really think so. We're going into election year, so whatever government is there, I think they will be prepared to really take it to the next level and make it a win-win. That's what I keep saying. We want it to be a win-win on both sides.
We were sitting in a hotel the other night, and we were just talking about this whole issue. And what immediately came to mind was in the late 70s, early 80s, so I'm like 12, 14, 15, and I remember seeing everywhere commercials out of Jamaica. Come back, come back to Jamaica, make it your home. I remember the waterfalls, the beaches and everything, and Jamaican tourism exploded because Jamaica undertook a massive marketing campaign in the United States. The Bahamas, same thing in terms of creating the marketing campaign. Targeting black media, black radio, black newspapers, but also mainstream as well. Do you think we might see that sort of campaign moving forward?
Well, let me just say this to you. I was smiling because we helped design that campaign. I was living in Jamaica at the time, and my son was born there, and we just helped the government design that campaign. First of all, we did training for everybody in the tourist sector, on how to properly market and sell your things. So it was not just what you saw, the physical campaign. They did also training, and
it was everywhere. I can literally sit here right now.
Come back to Jamaica.
And I could see the commercial.
Yeah.
Those commercials and the billboards. It was a very strategic. And I've actually vacationed in Jamaica more than anywhere else. because that was sort of just embedded in my mind.
Well, I have to tell you, our little company, ACA, we were very involved in helping to package that. That's why I was smiling when you mentioned that, very much so. That year, there was record repeat visitors that they've ever had in the history of tourism in Ghana, in Jamaica. So it works. It really does work.
Well, I would suggest to the Ghanaian government, they might want to listen to you on that one, because as somebody who was a kid, seeing the commercials, and then when I get older and then get an opportunity to spend my dollars, that was the first place I visited out of the country on a vacation. And that to me, and I think what that also does is I can only imagine what would happen if all of a sudden on American television, and then you start seeing billboards and digital ads all of a sudden, Ghana Tourism Bureau, and then you're seeing these commercials, stuff along those lines.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. And I was laughing because we were a part of that, and it does work. It really does.
Now, we're in southern Ghana, but I have heard from numerous people who kept saying, you have got to go to northern Ghana because of the beauty. Everybody's been saying that, and I'm like, okay, what are we missing?
Well, the northern, it has its own character. It really, really does. It's a lot more reserved. It's predominantly Muslims. And it's a very, 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 I think a lot of development needs to go to that area. And I think that our second lady is doing a really good job. And also Nadia, who is the deputy at the Office of the President for the Diaspora Affairs. They're both from the northern areas, and they're doing a lot of programs and development up there. But if you don't get to do it this time, we hope you're coming back. You're coming back.
Well, first of all, I got to come back because the Asante King wants to play golf.
Okay, well, you got to come back. Now, you cannot.
Right. Well, so when I met her, it was so funny. So I go up to greet him, and I already read where he's a big time golfer. And so I told him, I said, I understand you're a golfer. I said, well, I've been playing 30 plus years. He goes, really? I said, yes. I said, with 6.6 handicap. And he goes, and a true golfer, the first thing he goes is, when are you leaving? See, whenever golfers meet, that's the first question. How long you here? Want to play tomorrow? And so literally he wanted to play Friday morning. Unfortunately, there's a president's breakfast they've already committed to. So so I got to come back so he and I can do a round of golf.
Well, you have to. You cannot offend our Asante Hini. That's for sure.
No. What's funny is, so I text a bunch of my golf buddies. So I text George Lopez, Don Cheadle, Sam Jackson, Chris Spencer, and Cheadle was the only one who said, Roland, you can't beat the king. The rest of them said, forget that. You play the king. He said, play your game. They said, play your game. They said, don't lose to the king on purpose.
Don't lose. No, the king is good now, so you're going to have to play.
That's fine.
Yeah, no. He won't let you just beat him now. You're going to have to beat him.
Ain't not a problem.
That's for sure.
We all like a good game.
Oh, yeah.
What, this is the last question for you. You mentioned the dual citizenship. Is there a plan to really institutionalize that, to create a clear, defined process for that way folks know, how long it might take, what it requires, things along those lines? So I've gotten some of the questions from people asking about, that possibility of citizenship.
Well, what the president just did was he gave 126 people citizenship, and this was a special dispensation that he created for the year of return. There is a process, but one of the things that the government understands is that we need to get a little bit more serious in terms of what the policy is and put it on the website so people know exactly, what needs to happen, the background checks and all of that kind of stuff. So I think that's something that they're working on, very much so.
All right, then.
But you need to come and become one of us, I'm telling you, really. But before you go, there's a couple things I want to share. One is I want to talk a little bit about what this mission is doing. We have several projects. We have a project where we have a soccer team.
Okay.
And our soccer team went to America and they went to France. And those boys, we call this education through sports. These young boys, it's called Beecham United. And they live in a village. They had never hardly come to to Accra. And the change in their lives when they went to the United States, they went to the Texas, it's called the Dallas Cup. And they stayed with the Hines family. And so my boys really got exposed. And 10 of them got scholarships.
Wow.
Because of that. Yeah. So we're really very proud of that. Then we have another project called the Junior Ambassadors Program, where we take children from rural areas. Again, most of them have never even come to Accra. And we bring them down. We do etiquette training. We do culture training, media confidence building. And the first 6, now I want you to hear this, because this is one of my heart projects. The first 6 out of the 6 we sent to the United States, 2 of them are now medical doctors. One is now an IT expert. One is a teacher. And the other one got the presidential scholarship. Now, this is 6 young people. And what we make them do is commit to come back. So all 6 are now back in the country, because that's one of the things, is that you have to sign a waiver saying you're coming back, you'll bring that expertise back.
Right.
So those are just some of the things that we're doing that we're very, very excited about. The Diaspora Village that I talked to you about, that I want you to buy one of our condos.
How many you're building?
We're initially building 55,
Okay.
but we have land for 300. We've started, so we really want you to look at getting one of those.
All right.
Yeah.
So you mentioned essentially being self-funded. So there's somebody out there and they want to help. How do they do so?
They can donate. And even in terms of we have a school and we have an orphanage. You know Zernona Clayton? Okay, well, she built a school here.
Okay.
She gave us the money and we built a school in the Kumasi area for her, and it's called the Zernona Clayton School. We have an orphanage that we support, the Kumasi's Children's Home. So, $100 a month can send a child to school for the whole year here. So it doesn't take a lot of money, but just consistent.
Right.
That's what we need. And one of the things is that we've been very quiet about what we were doing, because we wanted to be effective and we wanted to have something to toot our horn about. And we feel very good about what we've done over these past 11 years.
Well, you got stuff to toot your horn, now you got to toot it.
Oh yeah, no, we're ready. That's why we have you sitting here.
All right, glad to hear it.
That's why we have you sitting here talking to us.
All right.
Because we want to tell the world. And I just really also want to say thank you for who you are and what you do. You see, because we really do need conscious people to begin to talk about the Black experience and tell our stories. So I really don't want you to go back and forget us, because not just Ghana, but all over Africa. Nollywood makes major money. So you can really, you want to make some money, you just come produce some quality films and documentaries, and you can make mega bucks.
Well, trust me, I've already, for the people who've been on my social media, so the people in Nigeria are mad, so they want me to come there. Folks like, I need you to come to Rwanda and South Africa. I'm like, because first I had to explain to them this was not my first trip to Ghana. I was in 2008. So I told them, I said, so this is the second time. But yeah, so they've been all over, sort of putting their request in, which countries to come to next. So we're sort of compiling that list.
Well, Michelle is your person. You got the perfect person. She's doing incredible work here and that kind of thing. So I'm really glad that she's your person. But our company, we have a company called the African Communications Agency, and we were the first ones to do ad sales for CNN in Africa many years ago. And we did President Clinton's legacy to Africa as well. You've seen that book.
Yep.
Yeah. So, that, and now I'm ready to really get that back up. For the past 12 years, this has been my life.
Right.
My morning, noon, and night, this has been my life. But now I'm ready to tell Africa's stories. We do another project called the African Women of Excellence, where we actually give awards to women who've done incredible things to support Africa, as well as those in the diaspora as well. So we're ready now to toot our horn, and we really would like to, at some point, have a private conversation with you to talk about what we can really do together seriously, because
Sounds good.
we have the key to 55 countries. So
Might as well open it.
yes, it's time.
All right. I
It's
appreciate
time.
it. Good chatting with you.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Like Bennett, there are a number of African Americans who have moved to Ghana for a variety of reasons. One of those folks is Dr. Obadele Bakari Kambon, who left Chicago in 2007 and moved to Ghana because he was sick and tired of the violence and police abuse in his hometown. I caught up with him at the University of Ghana, where he is a senior research fellow at the Institute of African Studies.
All right, Dr. Kambon, how you doing?
Doing good. How about you?
Oh, good. So your story is interesting. So you're living in Chicago, born and raised there?
No, I was born in Brooklyn, raised in North Carolina. Then I did undergrad at Morehouse College in Atlanta, grad school in Wisconsin, of all places, UW-Madison. And then after finishing my master's degrees, I moved to Chicago to teach at Chicago State and a couple of other places there as well.
And so you're living in Chicago,
Right.
and the climate there, we're talking about, police brutality,
Right.
shootings, all those different things, and that just got to you, and you say, you know what, I gotta get out of here.
Yeah, it wasn't so abstract either. I actually had a situation where I was arrested on trumped up charges. Me, having 2 master's degrees, they didn't ask schools. But when they see you, they just see a black person. So, they send you out to Bridgeview that has a 99.999% conviction rate. And, tens of thousands of dollars later, beat the charge. But I realized that as long as I'm in their jurisdiction on a whim at any time, they could do the same thing over again. So I had already been to Ghana. I did a year of study abroad here at the University of Ghana, where I studied the Twi language. So I said, you know what? Never again will I be in their jurisdiction. I'm going to, go back home, back here to Africa. And that's just what I did. And, my mother first came in 1972. So we have a long history with Ghana. And now I have Ghanaian citizenship. My parents have Ghanaian citizenship. My wife and my sister do as well. My 2 youngest children were born here. Oldest was in Chicago. So we've definitely established some firm roots here in Ghana.
Now, somebody else, they would think about moving to Atlanta or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
You said, no, I'm just gonna leave the country.
Yeah, one thing is that the more you travel, the more you're exposed to different things. So like I've been to Brazil, and I've been to various countries here on the continent. So Ghana, Nigeria, Togo, Benin, just, I could go on Senegal, Gambia. And really, I knew I was going to do my PhD. And because I had already had some experience here at the University of Ghana, I decided to come here. And it worked out well. I ended up getting the Vice Chancellor's Award for the best PhD thesis when I finished up. And I've been teaching here at the Institute of African Studies ever since. So, yeah.
What was the reaction from friends of yours? I mean, that you, or even some family, did the folks say, okay, Doc, that's a little extreme?
No, because, they say if you can't change the people around you, change the people around you.
Mm-hmm.
So the people around me, they already know what I'm about. Everywhere I've ever been, I've recreated Africa.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been in Atlanta, that's been Madison, that's been in Chicago. So everybody that I even knew and my parents, they were just like, what took you so long?
It is one of the things that I think that we have to acknowledge is that for a lot of African Americans, our view of Africa has really been shaped by white supremacy, by colonialism. We've been talking about those things, even the whole time I've been here, and just how folks' perceptions of what they think Africa is and what it isn't.
It's a constant discussion that what we find is that our view of the continent is shaped by non-African people, who we sometimes refer to as white folks, and their perception of Africans in the diaspora is also shaped by non-Africans, white folks. And what it ultimately does is those who are here think that everybody in the States is a drug dealer or a rapper or a thug or a gangster or whatever, because this is what they're seeing in whatever, Boys in the Hood, Menace to Society. And then those over there think that everybody here is a warlord or a corrupt, whatever, and dictator, all these types of things. So what ends up happening is that we never sit at the table together. And there's a quote by the noted psychologist, Dr. Amos Wilson. He says, if you want to understand any problem, don't look at those who suffer from the problem, look at those who profit from the problem. And basically we have to follow the money trail of who profits from us not sitting down, from me thinking that those continental Africans are bad, and from them thinking those diasporan Africans are bad. And they laugh all the way to the bank because, they're basically exploiting both of us on both sides of the waters.
So, Doc, you talk about, again, how we change the perception. And your story, I think, is unique one, because I think for a lot of people, let's just be honest, there's an assumption that, everybody wants to come to the United States, without realizing all across the world, people are moving not from state to state, from country to country. And that's also, John Hope Brown did something the other day. He had this great video where he said, if you're black and you got $50,000 or $100,000 saved up, he said, he's talking about the currency in South Africa. He said, do you realize that if you took that money and you moved to South Africa, one, you're now a South African millionaire. He said, you can take $25,000, buy you a $250,000 house in South Africa, very nice house. He said, whatever your skill is, he said, now all of a sudden you're living, now you're thriving in South Africa. I just interviewed Ambassador Erica Bennett. She said, the quality of life that I have here in Ghana, I can never have in the United States. But again, that's not knowing, not having any information, any understanding about the rest of the world, especially this continent.
Yeah, and I think that that's all by design. So one thing that I've done as an initiative is started something called Repatriate to Ghana. And basically it's to assist people with the transition so people can actually find out that, look, there's more than the U.S. And oftentimes growing up there, we'll think that the whole world is just the U.S., right? So the most you can think of is within those borders. But once you start to travel, you start to see just that, all the opportunities that are there for you. And sometimes you create your own opportunities. So right here at the Institute of African Studies, we started a series of meetings that culminated in citizenship for 34 citizens, including Ambassador Bennett. And from there, we continued on with what ended up being the additional citizenships that just came, where both my parents, my wife, my sister, all of them got citizenship. Now, these are things that wouldn't happen if I was just sitting there in the U.S. somewhere saying, I hope everything becomes perfect. That sometimes we have to play a role in that as well. So, I think it's really, once you're able to see more, then you can do more. And there's a quote by the historian, Dr. Runoko Rashidi. He says, what we do for ourselves depends on what we think of ourselves. What we think of ourselves depends on what we know of ourselves. And what we know of ourselves depends on what we have been told about ourselves. So we find we haven't been told very much about ourselves. So we don't know very much about ourselves. So we don't think very much about ourselves, and therefore we don't do very much for ourselves. But once you open up, the circumference of your activity, then you get more knowledge about what you're able to do.
Do you think you'll ever move back?
My goal is to never set foot on U.S. soil again.
Really?
Yeah. And, I say that.
So since you moved here, you haven't even gone back to visit?
No, I haven't gone back to visit, right? And if there's any event, I'll stream in, right? And part of it is an alignment with, I remember the 1980s where we divested from South Africa.
Right.
So even growing up to this date, I've never bought, petrol or gas at Shell, because I remember Royal Dutch Shell was big in there. So there are some companies that even since that time. So one thing I talk about is divesting from America, investing in Africa to make Africa great again. So once we look at statistics like what Dr. Michelle Alexander provides, that there are more black people enslaved in the modern day prison industrial complex than were enslaved in 1865, right at the end of the Civil War. This helps to tell us, something that lots of us are actually aware of. So I grew up never standing for the national anthem. So this is like a new thing, kneeling for the... In our family, we said, no, we don't stand for that, right? So we never called ourselves African-American. It's African anti-American. Because when we look at the history of struggle, Nana, and I use the title of respect, Nana Nat Turner, he wasn't waving no American flag. Nana Gabriel Prosser was not waving no American flag. He was trying to take over the government up there in Virginia. Nana Denmark Vesey, Nana Charles Deslongs. all these people, they were very clear that America is not for us. If we look at Nana Paul Cuff, back in the late 1700s, early 1800s, trying to come here, that we were very clear. In 1787, you had the African Lodge by Nana Absalom Jones. So all of these, we were very clear that we're calling this, African that we weren't calling it American until, Jesse Jackson was trying to run for president. Then we all become some type of American. What type? An African American. But again, for some of us, we're very clear. So in my family, we never stood for the Pledge of Allegiance, never stood for the national anthem, didn't celebrate White Horror Days, any of those things. And I think it comes from a knowledge of self, that once we know that that's not by us or for us, then, it's very easy to make that break, because there was never any investment in what we know is Plymouth Rock landing on us.
How do you get African Americans? Because this is the thing, I've been going back. How do you get African Americans to think differently? Those who say, we don't have the resources, or we don't have the extra resources to be investing in Africa. We should be putting that money to be helping Black people in the United States, not helping some folks in other countries.
Very good. So again, to the same point about divesting from America, so we picture that every single time that we're there, we're actually financing our oppression. So if we look at all the prisons that are built, that's coming out of our mortgage money and our car notes and our, tax dollars, all of that. So when we see us getting shot down in the streets, we bought the bullets. When we see us getting imprisoned at a massive scale, because again, the 13th Amendment, that enshrines enslavement, that says no slavery shall exist except as punishment of a crime. So right after they put in that amendment, they started the convict leasing system. And the convict leasing system is to ensure that anytime it's time to pick cotton, guess what? There's a crime wave. You're standing there, you don't show any proof of a job, you're loitering. So they would actually work people to death. And one of the quotes was, "This is better than slavery." During slavery, you have to take care of them during the winter when they're not working. Here, you arrest one, work them to death, and then just go arrest another one. So that's exactly what's on right now, and the major corporations are still heavily invested in it. So what I tell people to do is divest from that. As soon as you are funding and financing your oppression, then you're walking around in marches with placards that you bought, from those exact same folks. They're going to take that money and build more prisons and buy more, guns in order to shoot us down the streets. So I tell them, every single time you repatriate, it's like you're robbing the bank. All those millions that you would spend over the course of your life through paying car notes and everything else, imagine if you brought that here, just as you said. Because once you're here, your money, so $1 is 5.57 Ghana cedis right now. Your money just, quintuples. You understand? And then what you can do with it, you eat for less. I remember if they have a chain called Whole Foods, we call it Whole Paycheck. So you come out there with one single bag of groceries, and people here will be like, okay, if I'm there, I get all kinds of money. $1,000 for a tiny apartment in Chicago on the South Side, on top of that for your food. By the end of the month, you barely have anything to show for it. But when I'm here, I've been installed as a traditional ruler. So when you see me in my regalia, it's because I'm recognized. So not only am I embraced by the community, I speak the language, and I actually teach the indigenous language Chi here at the University of Ghana. So basically, once you start to open these doors, other people can see the opportunities that are there as well. So, what we do, again, I mentioned repatriatetheghana.com. We assist people so that they know, with a pension, I can do this. With Social Security, I can live like this. All of these types of things, and now they can see different opportunities. Inspiration is showing people possibilities.
All right, Doc, so explain to me your staff.
Very good. So the staff is actually a commission piece, and it is both Ghana on the top and then Congo on the bottom. And it's coming because I did some research and I found that Nana Muhammad Ali got a staff like this in the so-called Rumble in the Jungle in Zaire at that point in time. So because I'm a fighter, I teach capoeira, which is an African combat science. So in that spirit of, Nana Muhammad Ali said, in the ring I can stay till I'm old and gray, because I know how to hit and dance away. So I said in that same spirit, I'm getting that same type of cane done. But then on the top, this is Sankofa, which is Ghana, right? So when we say African, we're not just talking about the tiny fragments that they carved up at the Berlin Conference. All of it is ours, and it's our responsibility and duty to reclaim it all. So Sankofa is, there's a proverb in Chi that says, "So if you know Sankofa, you're in Chi." which is if you forget and you go back and take it, it's not taboo. So it's actually encouraged for us to return back to our source. And that's exactly what we've done here by repatriating to our motherland here.
Okay. All right then. And for folks who don't know, again, significance of these.
Right. So again, I'm installed as Bamuchidomhene at Ekwapiamampong. So when you see someone who has one of these, when you see these, it lets you know here's somebody who is a traditional ruler. So for the position, it's a military role, but it's also a spiritual role. So that means if a traditional royal passes away, we are the ones in the Bemu who would do the libations to make sure that person has their transition and things like that. If there's any event, then we're the ones who walk around with guns to make sure, you know, in traditional society, there weren't no police to call 911. Right. We're the ones who are responsible for that. So we're the ones who protect the community as well. So it's a military title, Chidomhene, and my name is also Okatachie. So Okatachie is the one who covers your back, right? So that's what's expected of me as well. So that's just a little bit of what we do. So I'm here teaching at the University of Ghana as a senior research fellow, Institute of African Studies, but then I'm also in the community, making community decisions for the betterment of Africa.
All right, sounds good. All right, I appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
Thanks
too.
so much.
You got the snap too?
Oh.
All right.
No, actually, I showed the brother. So he did that one, but I said, no, this is how we do it. I said,
bam.
No. See, no, you come and you pull it out.
All right, pull it out.
Right.
All right, got it. All right.
You still making noise.
Yeah.
So
right.
he was doing it with the finger.
With the finger.
And then when I showed him, because
the whole hand.
No, it's like it's the tip right here.
Right. Here we go.
Yeah.
We got multiple.
Right. So like pop. Right. And so he's like, whoa. He said, I didn't know that. I was like,
new innovations.
Oh yeah. So he showed me that. I said, no, let me show you how we do it.
Right.
He's like, I hadn't seen that one.
Right.
All right then.
All right. Appreciate it. Long way from Chicago.
You tell he been away from Chicago. Because I learned that move a long time ago in Houston.
That's probably even before I got to Chicago, 05 to 08. But you know, it's interesting that Africa.
I got there, arrived. I was there, I arrived 04.
Right. Yep. And this is the thing, that Africa is what connects us. So when I was in Chicago, I never met you in person. I would hear you on WVON, but Africa connects us. So we'll see basically all of these different streams converging in one place, and it's here on the motherland. So it's beautiful the way it works out.
Absolutely. Well, that's why we're here to tell a story.
Absolutely.
All right. I appreciate it.
Appreciate you too.
All right. Thanks so much, Doc.
All right.
There are a number of go-to places to visit in Ghana. And one of them is the Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Park and Mausoleum, dedicated to the country's first president and the father of Pan-Africanism. The Nkrumah Memorial is a part of what is known as Black Star Square, also known as Independence Square. Folks may remember that's where thousands gathered when President Bill Clinton and First Lady Hillary Clinton came to Ghana in 1998. The square also is the home of the Black Star Monument, also known as the Black Star Gate. Finished in 1961, Nkrumah had the Black Star of Africa placed on top. The 5 points of the star represent Africa and Ghana in particular. The gate is very impressive. I got a chance to go on top of it and see the Black Star of Africa up close and personal. It was this view, coupled with remembering Marcus Garvey's proposed cruise line, the Black Star, which was designed to connect people of African descent in America to the African diaspora, that led me to name this OTT venture the Black Star Network.